I'm Monica Smith. I'm one of the co-creators of RevelEleven, along with Joni Parsons, whose birthday it is today. So happy birthday, Joni.
So happy to be celebrating with you this morning, Monica.
I can't think of a better way.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Joni and I have been hosting events together for 4.5 years now. And this will be the first RevelEleven event that I'm the presenter rather than a host. And I'm kind of nervous, but it's a really meaningful topic to me. So I'm just so grateful that you're all here this morning. Thank you. This morning kicks off our Summer of Self-Love series that will be held every Tuesday this summer and will include topics about health, wellness, and maybe just being a little kinder to yourself. This morning's topic pretty much covers all of those things, so let's get started. Creating my morning ritual has been one of the most impactful additions to my life, as long as I can remember. So I wanted to share my experience with you guys because I am hopeful that it might positively impact yours. I will first go through the elements of my morning ritual, followed by other resources you can check out. The goal is just really to go through a bunch of options that you guys can pick and choose from based on what resonates. And then you can build your own ritual or refine a current one. I'm guessing a lot of you already have a morning ritual. And if you do, I would love to know. You can just put it in the chat area if you already have one. Okay, I'm going to start by sharing my journey. Last September, in the midst of COVID, I learned I needed a 7-hour surgery to remove an aggressively growing brain tumor, which involved a craniotomy and being on a ventilator. Well, the doctor didn't think it was cancerous. It wouldn't be confirmed until surgery. And even though I know ventilators are used all the time during long surgeries, but the barrage of news around ventilator nightmares related to COVID freaked me out as much as the thought of brain surgery or cancer. So as you can imagine, I had a ton of anxiety. I scheduled the surgery for December, thinking COVID might be a little bit better by then, and I'd have a chance to get my body healthy and strong in preparation. But wow, as any of you know who have experienced your own or a loved one's health crisis, it is such a mind-bending roller coaster of emotions and uncertainty. Can we all just pause for a moment and close our eyes for anyone here today facing a health crisis or just uncertainty in general? I am so grateful I had a strong support network of my amazing husband, family, and friends, some of which are on the call this morning. I just can't imagine going through what I experienced without them. And by the way, everything turned out great. I have a clean bill of health, thank goodness. Just thought I'd throw that out there so you're not wondering. Anyway, having the goal of getting healthy and strong in 3 months somehow made that uncertainty seem more manageable. Maybe it gave me a sense that there was something I could do. But I shared this goal with a dear friend who sent me a podcast on the Miracle Morning, which was written by Hal Elrod. Now, Elrod's style is not necessarily my cup of tea. I loved the sound of some of the components he used, which started my journey to find, practice, and refine what worked best for me. I have 5 elements to my program, but please know that I often only practice 2 or 3 of them. This is not a program to add to your stress of getting things done. It is just the opposite. It should be something that can evolve and change daily based on how you feel. I'd say the ideal goal is to make a morning ritual that becomes as natural as brushing your teeth. So you are on autopilot for a minimum set routine that doesn't really deviate. So let's just say that's 5 minutes. From there, everything beyond 5 minutes is gravy based on what feels good and right in the moment. I have found that my sweet spot for feeling optimal without spending a huge amount of time is around 45 minutes, which consists of only 3 or 4 of my components, which is 5 minutes of breathing, 30 minutes of pretty easy movement, and 10 minutes of reading or writing. So Joni is going to help me this morning with my slides and monitor questions. So please feel free to ask questions in the chat area along the way. Later today, maybe tomorrow morning, I'm going to send you the recording of this session, this slide deck, and a list of resources. So don't really feel like you need to take notes or anything like that. But here is the slide that shows my 5 different components that I'll review and some of the benefits associated with them. So when I wake up, the first thing I do is I turn my iPhone to airplane mode, which took me a really long time to figure this out because it made me feel so guilty. But I was like, what the heck? I am just going to do it. So I turn my iPhone to airplane mode so I don't get distracted or feel obligated to answer text messages promptly. I pee, I wash my face, I brush my teeth, and I drink a tall glass of warm water, sometimes with lemon. Really important to do as your cells are craving hydration at this point. I make coffee or tea and I go to my mat, which is usually at the foot of my bed, already set up with my AirPods and a candle ready to go. If you're someone who really cares about your environment, like I don't really care if I'm in a hallway as long as I'm not disturbed. But it would be nice to set up a special place in your home that might include an altar of special objects, or maybe you want to light a candle as part of your ritual. Just try to find a place that will remain free from distraction. My husband wakes up about, I don't know, an hour or 2 after me. So it's not an issue for me to do it at the base of our bed. In these slides, it's going to look like I do it outside, which I might if it's warm enough, but it's usually not. Okay, next slide. Breath work and meditation. By the way, that's my dog Hawk. She joins me every morning. So I sit on a block since it's easier on my back and knees than sitting cross-legged. Anything is fine, but I do not recommend lying down because there's just too big of a risk of falling asleep. Next slide. The benefits of stillness, meditation, and breathing are real. There have been a ton of credible studies showing the benefits that are listed here. Next slide, Joni. So there are lots of breathing and meditation techniques. And I encourage you to try a few to see what works best. When I was preparing for surgery, I settled in on a modified chakra meditation. And I'm going to walk you through this. So I started at my first or root chakra at the base of my spine, visualizing roots spreading into the earth, which is a really grounding sensation of feeling connected to others sharing this beautiful planet, and traveling up my spine through the other chakras until I would get to the 6th chakra, which is your third eye. And I would stop there. And I would do a breathing exercise that entailed the sensation of breathing into my third eye with a bright light, visualizing it sweeping through my brain and carrying my tumor out in the exhale. And I'd do this for maybe 10 rounds of breath. And I'd end the chakra meditation by visualizing the crown chakra, which is at the top of your head, shining a beam of white light into the universe. This beam of light into the broader universe, I don't know, it made me feel like I was connected to something bigger. which somehow just made me feel like no matter what happened, it was going to be okay. Here are other types of breathing or meditation techniques listed that you can look up online. I've used all of these during my morning ritual. If you have any questions about them, please ask. Okay, next slide. So the photo of me on the left is in pre-op. And I was trying to use the breathing technique I referred to in the last slide, which is breathing in for a count of 5 and exhaling for a count of 7. It's a great technique when you're trying to calm your nervous system. You don't want to, I mean, you don't need to be in an operating room to try this, but just try it during a difficult conversation or getting ready for a presentation or anything. It really helped here. It was interesting. When my surgeon visited me in the ICU after surgery, which is the photo on the right, he said, wow, that tumor seemed like it was ready to be gone because it nearly popped out. Even in my drugged stupor, I can't tell you the joy, and I just knew that I had something to do with it because of that breathing exercise I described of breathing through my third eye and sweeping my brain. And who really knows? Doesn't really matter. But I do believe that by placing intention around healing in your body, you can influence its outcome. Even if it's just to help you feel more connected to your body. So I encourage all of you to try that with an injury or an illness, of breathing light into the affected area and exhaling the badness. I have a chronic low back issue, and I do this exercise, and while my back still bugs me, it feels more like I'm in partnership with my back rather than it being my enemy, if that makes sense. Okay, I would love to get another perspective about meditation and would like to invite someone to share her meditation routine. Patty Fleischman, do you mind unmuting and turning your video on and sharing a couple of minutes about your meditation practice?
Yes, I'm happy to. And I also have to say how much, how proud I am of you and how strong you were to get through this. I have a husband who also had a craniotomy. He had a subdural hematoma and quite a few cancer surgeries, and he's doing great, just so you know. 4 years cancer-free, we're thrilled. But he also has a ritual, and his is a yoga ritual, but also quieting of the mind. And he does it every day. And that, he feels, has been his cure. So I just want to put that out there as a personal experience. Mine, I have not had health issues, but I lost my best friend actually 6 years ago. And I started meditating around that time. And I now know if I do not have my container in the morning, if I am not doing my breathing, my meditation, I do a movement exercise, I can feel myself get out of alignment emotionally, mentally. And so I always know, oh, if I'm sort of hooking onto things or I'm triggered by things out of the ordinary, I know I need to get back to my container. So what mine looks like is I have an altar, and sometimes I'm able to get to it if my husband has already left for his office. I can get to my altar because the altar is in my room. But I love my altar, and I change it every other year, depending on my growth cycle, whatever that is. And currently it has a beautiful sari that I got in India. I put on my altar things that are meaningful to me. So I have a crystal that represents protection, and I often use that holding onto it when I meditate. I have a feather, which is something personal to me. and reminds me of my friend that passed away. I have a picture of my family. I have some angel things on there. Just really anything. A friend of mine just gave me a sculpture of hands holding, that's going to go on there. Things that are meaningful to me and that sometimes I hold while I'm meditating. I, of course, have a candle. I have many different candles, and I also have a couple of different singing bowls. So I will often do my, they have different tones. So it depends. I wake up, I sort of intuit what I need, and I do a bowl. I light a candle, and I like to use Insight Timer. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. I was using that for many, many years because you can do a 1 minute, an 8 minute, a 45-minute guided meditation. And that seems to really help me ground myself. Recently, I switched to the Waking Up by Sam Harris meditation, and that's been really helpful for me. But the most important thing that I can share with you is I also need that quiet so I can do the breathing and the, I'm seeing that other people know Insight Timer, but I also do a visualization of my chakras most often and put a lot of white light. I'd like to share another meditation with you that a studio I used to go to taught us, and it looks like this. I'm only seeing me right now, so hopefully you guys can see me too. You take all the chatter in your brain, you sort of physically move that brain chatter out here, and you bring it down into the heart space, and you visualize a white light metabolizing it, clearing it, and then releasing it. And you're actually doing this physical movement and releasing, and it's a beautiful way of white lighting your chakra centers. So
That's beautiful, Patty. Thank you.
you're so.
I also really like what you said about so much of your ritual depends on how you're feeling that day. And then I want to emphasize that this is just, it's not prescriptive. You can do just whatever feels right. And I change mine up quite a bit as well. Okay, Joni, next slide, please. All right, now we're going to run through the movement component. After removing my block, I put headphones in, turn on calming music, and start to move while still on the ground for at least the first portion of exercises. By the way, I'm sharing my Spotify music mix with you and the resources I send out. It actually came from an amazing yoga teacher friend, and the music mix is nearly 3 hours long. All I'm going to say is that I love it. And as soon as I turn it on, it puts me into an extremely grounded place. So sometimes if I'm having an off afternoon or super stressed, I'll turn it on because I associate it with that morning ritual, and it's amazing how it calms me down. Okay, during movement, I like to build slowly, starting with integrated breath and movement. So exercises like cat-cow will be an inhale during cow, which is the top left photo, and exhaling during cat, which is the arched position, repeating that several times. Other integrated breath with movement can be bridge exercise, which is the second photo down on the right, where you start on your back, your arms are down at your side, and as you inhale, you lift your butt and arms slowly overhead. Pause and exhale, lowering both your butt and arms simultaneously, and repeating that. Since I have a low back issue, I like to incorporate a lot of core, glute, and hip exercises. So I'll do various leg lifts. This photo of me down on the lower middle is multitasking with leg lifts combined with a light weight. usually around 3 pounds. But if you don't have a weight on hand, you can always modify by using a bottle of wine or whatever you find. I mean, this can be done in a hotel, wherever you are. This particular exercise targets your shoulder rotator cuff, which is another weak area for me. Do you like how my dog is lifting her leg in that photo too? I'm not going to run through my entire list of exercises because it would take too long, but I like to do the same exercises every day for the first 5 minutes to ensure I get through my priority areas, which airplane on the lowest right is one of those. But it also creates a habit, so you don't need to try to remember your routine. You are just on autopilot, which I know for me makes it a lot easier to get through it. So I'm not sitting there thinking, okay, what do I do next? And then start to get inertia and get distracted. As I go through the exercises, I'm consistently building more energy, going to planks, side planks, push-ups, lunges, some balance exercises, handstands, whatever it is, depending how I feel that day and how much time that I have. If you want some help creating a list of exercises, please email. I'm happy to help. And I also have some more resources I can send you. So that's my movement routine. Yours may be a higher intensity, like getting on your Peloton or going for a run. It is all fantastic. This is just a routine that nourishes my body, helps me start the day feeling great. And even if I don't get to other more intense workouts, at least it gives me a base that my body feels good, a little stronger, and definitely I feel less prone to injury. Earlier, I mentioned the doctor's comment about the tumor being ready to come out. But I also want to mention the rapid recovery I attribute to being in the right mind space and body space. A normal time to be in the hospital for my type of surgery is 3 to 5 days. And due to COVID and my post-operative spunkiness, I was released directly from ICU to go home within 24 hours. But just as surprising, I was on my mat the following morning at 6 a.m. Unbeknownst to my husband, thank God, because he would have been so pissed, where I literally crawled out of bed, doing as much of my ritual as possible, which wasn't much because I had to keep my head elevated and my heart rate under 90. But it still felt so nourishing. And I can't quite describe that, but I do swear that it led to a really quick recovery. Joni, next slide, please. Okay, so I've pretty much been through that. So let's go on to the next slide, please, which is reading. Okay, I don't know about you, but I rarely read more than news, some Instagram, maybe a little Facebook, but my pleasure reading has significantly dropped off, I'm embarrassed to say. Well, I learned that if you can just add 5 minutes of reading each day, it translates to 5 books a year, or 10 minutes, which is my routine, is 10 books. My routine is to pick something that's kind of heady, not necessarily a page turner like a John Grisham novel, but like here I'm reading These Truths by Anne Lepore, which is a rewrite of American history that's unfiltered about stuff we never learned in American history class. Next slide, Jones. My point is I can stay super engaged for 10 minutes. So I set my timer on my iPhone for 10 minutes and I'm fully focused, underlining, circling, really paying attention. And it results in feeling like truly awake, intellectually stimulated, and ready to take on the day. Anyone have any book recommendations? Send them to me or put them in the chat area and I'll share them later. Your approach to reading might be to select inspiring stories or personal development, whatever keeps you engaged. But I would love to hear someone else's perspective about reading. So I'm going to ask Andrea Friesen to share her beautiful ritual around reading. It is a much more soulful ritual than mine. So Andrea.
Thank you. Thank you, Monica. And thank you, RevelEleven community, for inviting me into this topic. Nourishing, Monica, the word you just used, I believe that nourishment comes from the cellular memory that you created through your commitment of a daily ritual. Because wherever traveling, wherever you are, as you build day upon day upon your ritual, you're creating those pathways, you're building that, and you get there faster, quieter, more beautifully, whenever you need it. It's the commitment to daily ritual, I believe, is the gift to you, from you, that keeps on giving. On that note, everything Patty said, everything, Monica, that you said, it's all true. It's all true. And so many aspects of daily ritual are centuries old, and they're universal. They're also very, very personal. And it's between me and me, my ritual, that's it. And I feel that it's a high stakes commitment. It's that important. 20 to 30 minutes at my meditation table is about average. 60 minutes is heaven. But what I want to talk about today briefly is time, TikTok, right? And it is just in all of our lives, not that it's my intention to speak for any of you, it's just so easy a few mornings a week to legitimately tell yourself you don't have time. But I believe you don't not have time. It's that important. And so for that reason, I'm a fan of daily reading books where there's an excerpt or passage for each day of the year. And there's hundreds of them out there. So again, it's personal, whatever resonates with you, that would be your path. But I'm a fan because it holds me accountable. It's like, today's June 1st. What are my words for June 1st? I can't let my morning get away from me, or rather, I should say, I choose not to. So in the packet, Monica's packet, I included tomorrow's passage from my daily reading book, on the chance you would be interested in it. And I also included a passage of my daily gratitude. So when I'm pressed for time, I can sit on my cushion, I can center myself, breathe, express my gratitude, set my tone and intentions for the day, read my daily offering, and close, and take another breath, of course, in less than 5 minutes. And the intention of my takeaway today for you is, if you have a day where you believe that you don't have 5 minutes for yourself, there's, I think, a bigger picture for you to look at, or perhaps reprioritize, because it's so very important. And then on goes the day, and time is flying, and you look at your clock and it's 2 p.m. Sometimes I'll ask myself, what was my favorite sentence in my passage from my daily reading today? And sometimes I don't even remember what it was, the whole thing. And then that just tells me, slow down. It's 5 minutes. You deserve it. You deserve it. And all the people in your life deserve it. And the same holds true with travel. I don't need to be at my meditation table, but closing on the cellular memory, upon building this up, then wherever you are, you have all the help and support that you need. And it's life-changing and incredibly important. So thank you.
Andrea, can you just share, do you pick a short passage and reread it for the 5 minutes? Or is it just looking for passages that are really meaningful to you?
The daily books, it's each day.
Okay.
So like the passage I sent you, it says June 2nd. And in that particular book, it's called A Deep Breath of Life. It's old. And so it includes like a quote from somewhere, and then it includes a story, and then it includes like an affirmation for the day and a blessing. But that's just me. And then what is so fascinating to me is when the year is over, now it's January 1st, I just start over. And this particular book, A Deep Breath of Life, I've had for, I don't know, 15 years.
That's
Countless times I am reading passages that I've never read before in my life. But it's because I'm not who I was when I read it the last time.
Yeah,
So
that's so true. You get something different out of it every time, I'm guessing.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing, Andrea. We also had a comment in the chat saying affirmations and gratitudes out loud immediately changes my day.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. Excuse me. And we'll be talking a little bit about that in a few minutes.
It's because of the vibration.
Yeah.
The expression, the audible aspect of that, you're, along with setting your tone and your intention, you're creating that vibration within you, and it bolsters it all the more swiftly.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, let's talk about something similar, which is visualization. Joni, if you could change this slide. So the energy is building. And at this point in my morning, I'm ready to start thinking about my upcoming day. So I pull out my calendar, and yes, this is a 3-year paper calendar that I absolutely adore. But I also look at my iPhone at this point. Next slide. So after seeing what's up for the day, I start to think about what that looks like and how I want to feel going into meetings or activities or whatever it is. And I visualize that. Am I confident and high energy? What do I want to get out of those activities? Visualize it. Visualize the desired outcomes and why those outcomes are important to you. Even if it's as simple as wanting to eat more healthily. Visualize yourself reaching into the refrigerator, grabbing an apple, or making a healthy salad for lunch. Or say you want to ask for a promotion or you're pitching a new client. Visualize your beautiful, confident self in action. Next slide. Actually, Joni, you can just go to the writing one next. Okay, based on your visualization exercises, or based on my visualization, I will then spend a few minutes writing about it, both what and why those things are important. This helps me so much. So my day isn't a series of being really reactive. It sets the stage so I can be more proactive. And it feels a lot more like I'm on my own terms. I only spend like 10 minutes on the combined visualization and writing. It's incredible how this little amount of time has such a big impact. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so to conclude my sequence, here it is again. During my surgery prep and for about 8 weeks after surgery, and probably, I don't know, once a week now, I added a step of nourishment at the end of my routine. I didn't include it here because I'm also a fan of intermittent fasting, which means I don't consume calories until noon. But the nourishment of a green smoothie felt really important in my preparation and recovery to build strength and have additional nutrients. I'm happy to send my recipe. Actually, I will just go ahead and send my recipe, but it consisted of grass-fed whey protein, or like a good quality plant protein, collagen for bones, soft tissue and skin, ground flax seeds for good oils, spinach and or other leafy greens, parsley, lemon, ginger, and blueberries. Please note, I don't add more fruit than that just to avoid the sugar spike. But anyway, I'm going to send that out. I just felt like I was cheating if I didn't include that nourishment piece, because I really do feel like it helped me preparing for the surgery and certainly afterwards. Next slide, please. As I said earlier, what's right for me does not mean that it will be right for everyone. As I mentioned earlier, I researched a lot of different morning rituals to land on mine. And here is a list of some of those resources I used. I'm not going to walk you through these since I'm sending them out. But I think a few other elements that seem compelling that you might want to consider. Affirmations, definitely, just like we had in the chat. Gratitudes, goal setting, learning something new, like a new language. So that, that could be instead of your reading. So say for, even if it's 10 minutes, going on to a language app. Reflections. So maybe thinking about the highlights and the lowlights of the day before, or just observations from the past. Journaling, which I guess kind of encompasses or can encompass all of those. And then some people like to incorporate body cleansing rituals, whether it's mindfully brushing your teeth or scraping your tongue or whatever it is. And then I don't know if you see this, but two of the resources that I mentioned, I think, are getting up at 5 a.m. I tend to do that naturally, just like Joni does. But there seems to be a lot of things written about how forcing yourself to get up an hour earlier than you normally would is so powerful in making sure that you get through your ritual and positively impacting your life. Okay, so next slide, please. I am ending on the slide of this, which is setting up for success. I cannot emphasize the importance of this. If I don't have everything kind of ready to go the night before, I am way less likely to do it because I'm afraid to make noise in the morning and wake up my husband, or I can't find my ear pods, or whatever it is. Setting the alarm the night before, all of these things, like putting your phone in airplane mode, drinking that water and grabbing your coffee so it's ready to go by your mat, having that quiet place, just everything that will make it more likely to happen. And again, what's really important for me is building that energy as you go. So that is my morning ritual. And if there are any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to hand it over to Joni to describe what's coming up. Anything? You're so welcome.
Yeah, that was fabulous. I learned so much, and I've always had a morning ritual, but I'm going to incorporate some new things into my morning ritual every day.
Well, why don't you describe your morning ritual, Joni?
Well, thank you. For the last 25 to 30 years, I've been walking in nature every morning or running. We have a lake nearby here in Seattle called Green Lake. It's a 3-mile loop, and I enjoy it so much. It's my way of grounding, checking in, sometimes checking in with friends as I walk with friends in the morning. But for me, walking in nature and experiencing all the seasons, all the animal life that's around is just such an important part of my life and something I do every day. In fact, I got back right before this event because I wanted to make sure to do my morning ritual before this
Especially on your birthday.
and on my birthday with my cousin, my beautiful cousin. So it was a family walk this morning. Monica, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining us. What a special morning. It's just, I'm so happy, Monica, having gone through this whole thing with you, that it was successful. And I truly believe that your morning ritual made a huge difference.
Thank you.
It was your success. So
thank you very
love
much.
you. Mwah.